On my wedding day, I arrived at the Marquis estate with over 100 chests of dowry, only to find the main gates shut tight. The bride had arrived, but a voice from inside yelled no. They told me to roll right back where I came from and try again another time. Sitting inside my bridal sedan, I actually laughed. In my last life, I dragged my dowry back home in disgrace, becoming the laughingstock of the capital. To protect our family's reputation, my father, who always adored me, ordered me to hang myself in my bedroom with a white silk rope. My mother and uncle begged for my life, forcing me to degrade myself to a concubine and enter the estate alongside my half-sister. I lost all my dignity, but worse, I dragged down my eldest brother. To stand up for me, he rushed back from the border, riding 7 horses to death. He was ambushed and murdered on a hillside just 3 miles outside the capital. Wild dogs ate his corpse. When we found him, only a bloody skeleton remained. My mother died of a broken heart shortly after. When my half-sister intentionally made my life a living hell, I completely lost control. I shoved her and accidentally harmed the unborn baby in her womb. Only then did I discover that my new husband, Song-soon, had secretly pledged his life to my sister long ago. They already had a child. Remembering all this, I pushed down the boiling hatred in my chest and steadied my breathing. I called out to my maid. Chun-Tao clutched her box tightly. I kicked the sedan door wide open and stepped out calmly. She gasped, saying a bride walking out alone breaks the rules. To hell with their rules. In my past life, I followed every rule. Did those monsters do the same? No. I am entering this estate today, and I will not rest until my blood debt is paid. I took a deep breath, and then something exploded in my chest. I marched right up the stone steps. Before Chun-Tao could even react, I kicked the massive front doors of the estate as hard as I could. Bang! The crowd hiding behind the doors, eagerly waiting to watch the drama unfold, instantly tumbled to the ground in a messy pile. Chun-Tao was trembling with absolute rage. She yelled at them, asking how a noble estate could let peasant servants block the door. The head steward stepped forward to block our path, smirking as he said we brought this upon ourselves. He claimed it was the madam's direct order. She said since I was kidnapped by bandits for 2 whole hours, my innocence was completely ruined. Their prestigious family refuses to take in a soiled woman. They demanded I take my things back. He told me to go back the way I came and cry to the emperor if I felt wronged. That is exactly how I was sent back in my last life, deeply humiliated. I argued I was merely delayed by the rain, and their own escort team could easily prove my story. How dare he slander me? He sneered, saying if I was truly pure, I should return to the CA family and wait for a full investigation before claiming the wife title. Honestly, everyone knew the truth. Being rejected on my wedding day meant facing a brutal virginity test. Even if I proved my innocence, my reputation would still be shattered beyond repair. In my previous life, I actually underwent that humiliating test. I made it through their doors, but only as a lowly concubine. On top of that, my husband Song-shun never laid a single finger on me, so the test meant absolutely nothing. My uncle only acted out of pure love, but stepping up for me gave them leverage. 78 innocent lives became stepping stones for Song-soon's spotless reputation. I knelt in the pouring rain, begging him to spare my uncle's family. Xie Yujin, you ruined Yu Yan's child. This is your karma. My single mistake triggered a chain of disasters. My loved ones were destroyed one by one because of me. I will remember that pain forever. Beside me, Chun-Tao lunged forward, ready to fight. I grabbed her arm to stop her, squeezing the small box in my hands. I spoke clearly. If the madam wants me to turn around and leave, fine. But this marriage was directly ordered by the emperor himself. Keeping me out means defying the royal crown. If this noble estate truly refuses to take me, I will kneel every single step to the palace gates to end it. We would not want to ruin our family's precious reputations. The manager heard me. His face went completely pale. If I was telling the truth about merely hiding from the rain, then his master was the one committing treason. Refusing the emperor meant losing your head. He stuttered quickly. Lady C, this is just a minor misunderstanding. No need to disturb his majesty. I will inform the main courtyard right now. I cut him off. Do not bother. I know this path very well. I will walk in by myself. I remembered walking this exact route. In my past life, I knelt here countless times. The worst was when I begged Song-shun to save my uncle. I smashed my forehead on the stones until I bled. He only offered to let me mourn him. Stepping inside today, my mind repeated one thing. Song-sun, you will pay me back for every single thing you did. Inside, the main hall was pure chaos. The elegant madam of the house knelt right at the old grandmother's feet. She sobbed heavily, begging her mother. That girl spent hours alone. Who knows who ruined her purity? If we do not cancel this wedding, my son will be an absolute laughingstock. Song-sun stood firmly behind his mother with a dark scowl. Yes, grandmother, I refuse to marry a ruined bride who was touched by other men. You do not want everyone mocking your grandson for taking damaged goods. The old woman sighed heavily. She opened her mouth to reply, but a voice interrupted. A man chuckled sharply from the dark corner. Funny, I heard the bride did not lose a single guard. But our brave escort team sprinted away faster than frightened rabbits. You obsess over our reputation, yet you blame the lady. If the emperor actually investigates this matter, we might be the ones losing face. Hearing this, the old matriarch slapped the weeping mother's hands away. The emperor commanded this union. Even if a terrible storm delayed her, we must welcome the bride properly before judging anything. Locking her outside basically announces our open treason. When will you ever outgrow these petty, pathetic tricks of yours? The noble mother flushed bright red under the harsh scolding. She quickly pointed her finger back. Grandmother, we do not have to commit treason. I have a solution. Since the beginning, I always found her terribly weak and boring. The royal decree simply binds our two families. Any other sister from her household would be way better. Just pick a prettier sister. She is still a Shie. As for this ruined girl, making her my concubine will completely preserve our family honor. Right then, the panicked manager sprinted into the hall. Madam, that furious G-girl is here. She forced her way inside. In the very next breath, I marched right into the room. What a brilliant plan, my young lord. Every head snapped up as I crossed the threshold in my bright red gown. The veil still hid my face. The storm soaked my clothes, but I looked perfectly elegant. The damp fabric hugged my figure, radiating the pure pride of a highborn lady. Through the dark red silk, I followed their voices and bowed gracefully toward the elder. Shi Yujin pays her deepest respects to the matriarch. The old woman narrowed her sharp eyes and nodded. She truly makes a beautiful bride. A tense silence filled the heavy air. Everyone expected me to kneel before the others. They wanted me to bow to Song Shun. I stood completely still. You finally realize, you are unworthy of me. Go home and lock yourself away in absolute shame. Once the rumors fade, I might generously take you as a lowly concubine. At least you will have a roof and warm meals. I calmly replied. When my carriage left my house, the terrible storm ruined our perfect timing. Taking shelter inside that temple saved my guards from the deadly weather. It protected your family's precious honor too. Tell me, my arrogant lord, what exactly did I do wrong? He sneered. Hiding from the rain? Bandits totally kidnapped you. Your innocence is absolutely gone. I glared straight through the red veil at his annoying voice. I spoke slowly. You were completely out of town. How could you possibly know bandits kidnapped me? Do I even need to ask? Everyone in the city knows those mountain trails are crawling with vicious thieves. You vanished into thin air for 2 solid hours. You certainly were not sitting around knitting flowers with those outlaws. I could not even bother answering his wild accusations. Beside me, Chuntao stamped her feet in pure rage. We saw the bandits. Thankfully, my lady predicted the brutal storm. We hid inside the old temple safely. We simply took a longer detour. If a defenseless woman like me gets abducted, the blame falls entirely on the villains. What crime did I commit? If the young Marquis gets beaten up on the street, would he seriously blame himself for eating too well, dressing too warmly, or simply standing out? The moment those words left my mouth, someone hidden in the corner actually burst out laughing. Song Jun turned absolutely green. He snapped at me. Your Z family is obviously more than happy to lie for you, but if you keep making this massive scene, becoming my lawful wife is completely out of the question for you. Beneath my red bridal veil, my lips curled into a smile. I am afraid you are deeply mistaken, young Marquis. I did not come here today to marry you. When those words dropped, the entire main courtyard went dead silent. Everyone was totally stunned. Not marrying Song Soon? Then why on earth are you walking in here wearing a red bridal gown? I turned around and walked steadily toward the man resting in the corner. The Song family has 2 sons. The eldest, Song Jae, and the second, Song Soon. Song Jae was born to the Marquis of Zhongyang's very first wife. He was an absolute genius in both literature and martial arts. He earned a massive mountain of military honors at a very young age. The emperor himself promised he would inherit the noble title. Sadly, heaven envied his brilliant talents. He badly injured his legs on the brutal battlefield and could never stand up again. Naturally, the prestigious Marquis title fell right into Song Soon's lap. His mother, the Marquis's new wife, rose to absolute power right alongside her fortunate son. I stopped directly in front of Song Zae. My voice echoed slowly and clearly through the room, just as the young Marquis said. When His Majesty granted this royal marriage, he only decreed that the Shi and Song families would unite. In my mind, that naturally meant the eldest daughter marrying the eldest son. I heard the great song master injured his legs in battle and could not fetch his bride himself. So, I proudly came here on my own. I tightened my grip on the beautiful brocade box in my hands. Amidst the sharp, shocked gasps of the entire crowd, I spoke softly. Song Zi, I am here to marry you. The main courtyard fell into a deathly silence once again. Song Jae stared at the brocade box in my arms for a very long time. Everyone fully expected him to brutally reject me. Instead, he simply narrowed his dark eyes and slowly replied, "Pardon my terrible manners." Right then, a loud announcement echoed from the front gates. A young palace messenger arrived to witness the royal ceremony for the emperor. He claimed he was a step late and asked about the wedding progress so he could report back. Claimed he was late? He probably heard about my little stunt and came to intervene. Imperial orders overrule everything. The day's last auspicious hour was fast approaching. We had delayed long enough. Time was short, so the wedding ceremony began immediately. All quarrels were pushed aside. We rushed through the vows before the ancestral tablets. Song Zae went to handle the palace envoys, and I was sent to the bridal chamber. Only then did Chuntao dare to speak, crying, "Miss, why wrong yourself like this? Eldest young master Song is crippled. He He will never stand again in this life, and you are still so young. I casually tossed aside my bridal veil. I told her calmly that she needed to change how she addressed him. If the young master and your uncle knew you suffered this arranged marriage, their hearts would break. His reputation is no better than Song Soon's. He was a demon on the battlefield, and now he is a tyrant in the capital. Anyone who dares cross him never lives to see the next sunrise. People have even seen him flay enemies alive and feed them to the dogs. But I knew those were just the people who had deeply offended him. He fell from grace into the mud and was stripped of his noble title. If he wasn't ruthless, how could he survive in this estate? He would only grow more cruel. But I didn't choose him blindly just to escape Song's son. I held a brocade box. Years ago, on my way to the temple, I saw Song Zae drowning and jumped in to save him. Since men and women shouldn't touch, I refused to leave my name. So, he gave me this jade pendant. He promised me one favor if I ever sought him out. I knew this man wasn't just some sickly invalid rotting in the backyard. He was the future rebel warlord who would bathe the land in blood, violent and completely ruthless. History remembers him as an undisputed, notorious tyrant. The day he took the throne, he slaughtered the entire Marquis estate. I was locked in the woodshed by Song Soon, dying. With my last breath, I watched him personally execute Song's son. Everyone who bullied or framed him was thrown into a mass grave. I feared his cruelty, but I also craved that supreme power. If I could win him over early, everything I wanted would come easily. And the best way to secure a man? Give him a child. Having lived a past life, I cared little for romance. But thinking of my new husband's crippled legs, I felt a wave of worry. I didn't know the exact extent of his injuries, or if he could even perform. Then what about the 8 concubines he kept in his backyard? I heard he spent every single day back there, partying through the night. Given the terrible state of his legs, was it really wise to act so recklessly? Could his body handle it? By the time he comes to you, he might be completely hollowed out. If you fail to give him an heir, your days here will only get harder. But honestly, I didn't care at all. Having concubines was a good sign. It meant things worked, even if poorly. I just needed to have a child. My plan was simple. If he was weak, I'd nurse him back to health. Chun Tao tried to argue, but wheelchair wheels creaked outside. I shushed her and quickly threw the red veil back over my head. The wheels scraped closer. They finally stopped right in front of me. Beneath my veil, I could only see his crimson wedding robes and a pair of long, pale hands with slightly deformed fingers. In my past life, I saw him lead his army through the gates. His silver spear and white horse were entirely soaked in blood. He looked like a vicious demon crawling straight out of hell. Parents would even use his name to scare crying children into silence. Yet, here I was, using an old favor to trap him. I married this living Grim Reaper and forced him to wed the woman Song Sun discarded. It hit me then that planning for a baby was getting way ahead of myself. This man was incredibly dangerous. My own fate was still completely up in the air. Sure enough, Song Jae made no move to lift my veil. He just leaned back lazily in his chair, tapping the ceremonial scale in his hand. His voice was freezing cold, totally unlike the gentleman from the hall. The jade pendant. Is this how you use it? He hated being threatened more than anything. A woman rejected by Song Zoon had actually blackmailed him into marriage. I tilted my head slightly toward where he sat, unable to see his face through the silk, but I could feel his sharp, suffocating aura. To him, the person sitting on the bed wasn't a new bride, but a trapped prey. My heart pounded, but I had zero escape routes. I had crawled out of a pile of corpses last time. I watched my mother and my uncle's entire family die right in front of me. For their sake, I had to cling to Song Jae's power. Staying alive was the only way to protect them now. I let out a soft laugh. Back then in the water, when you were drowning, you sang a different tune. You said you ruined my reputation and would definitely marry me. Song Zi grew up in military camps, with a bunch of rough soldiers always gathered around. He was used to hearing dirty jokes, but this was the first time he'd heard such bold words from a woman. Every detail matched perfectly. If he didn't remember exactly how decently we climbed out of that water, with only damp clothes, he might have actually believed me. How could Jie Yujin, a sheltered noble daughter, know every single detail about his old scars? Song Zae's eyes darkened as he suddenly reached out. The scale slashed toward my throat like a razor-sharp sword. Air rushed past, but I didn't flinch. Instead, the sudden gust of wind caught my red veil, sending it fluttering to the floor. It revealed a face flushed almost as red as the silk. Xie Yujin was once the talk of the capital, the undisputed greatest beauty, slender as a willow, delicate and graceful. But because I strictly followed the rules and stayed hidden, my looks were mostly just a rumor. Few had ever seen me. Now, looking at me, the rumors seemed completely justified. Before he could study me closer, I lowered my eyes. I called out to him softly, "Husband." Song Jae glanced at the red veil resting on the bed. He narrowed his long eyes, the killing intent in them melting into a faint hint of amusement. He had barely used any force, yet the veil flew off perfectly. Anyone else would think he had magical sword aura. His new little wife clearly wasn't the helpless, fragile girl the rumors claimed. If I was this desperate to marry him, was it really just to save face? "What else did you imagine about that day?" he asked. "Know what happens to people who lie to me. I decide their fate." I had long heard of Song Jae's evil reputation, gossip about him, and your tongue would be ripped out, cooked, and fed to someone else. Claiming I wasn't scared would be a lie. I made all of that up just now. Back then, I couldn't run away fast enough. Why would I dare touch a strange, hot-blooded man? But the rules here dictate that we aren't true spouses until the veil is lifted. Since I chose to marry him, I couldn't afford a single mistake. Consummating the marriage could wait, but he had to remove that veil first. The old madam told me these things in private after we bowed. I lied smoothly. Whether it's true or not, husband, you can send someone to ask the front yard. Of course, only you and I know what happened in the water. I was just terrified you wouldn't accept me as your wife. I might as well just go home, since my reputation is already ruined anyway. I spoke half-truths, faking a perfect amount of sorrow. The old madam only mentioned his old injuries, so I could care for them. As for the mole on his lower stomach, a certain someone told me that in my past life. Songzae narrowed his fox-like eyes. He was about to summon a servant when Chuntao started screaming outside. You can't go in. The young master and his new bride just went to bed. Who storms a bridal chamber on the wedding night? The intruder's footsteps didn't stop. They shoved Chuntao aside, marched right up to our door, and shouted loudly. I am here on the Marchioness's orders to inspect the new bride's purity. She said the rumors about you running into mountain bandits are spreading everywhere. So many eyes are watching the estate right now. If we don't offer proof, I'm afraid it will ruin the reputation of the eldest son, the bride, and the entire family. So she specifically used her token to bring an experienced nanny from the palace to examine you. Please cooperate, madam. They couldn't even wait until tomorrow morning to check my innocence. Even if I was pure, even if Songzae was physically incapable, or even if he just refused to touch me tonight. We were bound together now. We shared the same glory and the same disgrace. Any rumor would be devastating. Chuntao blocked the door desperately. The intruder gave a fake, hollow smile. Whether your lady is pure or not, isn't up to you to decide. If she really is innocent, a quick check won't hurt. Our Marchioness is just worried that outside gossip will harm the eldest son and this noble house. Besides, the palace sent someone, which means the emperor himself cares about this matter. Our young master is a war hero who bled for the country. He shouldn't have to suffer such humiliation. Hiding it will only make people think you're guilty. What if bandits really ruined her, and she's already pregnant? Pinning a bastard on the young master would taint the family bloodline. How could he face our ancestors? Chuntao couldn't out-argue the crowd. She looked ready to scratch their eyes out, but held her ground to guard the door. Her voice trembled with pure rage. Absolutely not. You're a dowry maid, which means you belong to this estate now. Disobeying the madam means you're rebelling against heaven itself. Guards, drag her out of my sight. The red candles flickered, but my eyes were ice cold. Even if those two hags turned to ash, I'd recognize them. That was Nanny Jiang, the Marchioness's servant, and Nanny Yun from the palace. In my past life, these exact two women inspected my body. They found me pure, but spread vicious rumors anyway. They claimed my waist and neck had bruises, like a man had grabbed me. Only later did I realize the Marchioness and Consort Qi were cousins. Nanny Yun answered to the consort, and Nanny Jiang was bought by my enemy. Last time, they ruined me. This lifetime, I've already married Songjae. Is she really this impatient? Ruining my reputation on my wedding night, while slapping a green hat on my husband, so he could never recover. 2 birds, 1 stone. Hearing the frantic footsteps outside, I didn't hesitate. I pulled off my bridal crown. I tossed it aside. Chuntao had already placed the virginity cloth by the bed. I walked right up to the wheelchair, staring at Songjae's unreadable face. Husband, this is an emergency. Forgive me. Without waiting for his answer, I reached down and started unfastening his outer robes. Songjae's eyes darkened immediately. My wife, in my current state, I am afraid I will disappoint you. I finally pulled his heavy coat open, revealing the white inner layers. Fighting back my burning embarrassment, I reached for his undergarments. I forced a perfectly calm tone. It does not matter. I will do it myself. Songzae watched me with absolute amusement. He didn't care about the people outside. Or maybe, he had been through this so many times he was numb. The whole capital knew he was paralyzed. Everyone thought the Marchioness was a saintly stepmother, exhausting every resource to cure him, crying to everyone about her poor eldest son. The whole city praised her endless virtue, saying she treated Songjae better than her own flesh and blood. It took a whole lifetime for me to learn the truth. Her kindness was a total sham. His daily medicine was poisoned. It would slowly destroy his mind, driving him violently insane, until he died in agony. Every servant assigned to him was her spy, respectful on the surface, but secretly making his life absolute hell. She knew he suffered terrible winter joint pain. The charcoal she sent looked fine, but was soaked in water. His winter coats felt heavy, but were stuffed with useless weeds. Now that I am here, I will stop every single betrayal. Songzae just rubbed his fingertips together. He watched helplessly as I completely trashed the bed to make it look like a wild, passionate night. If he wasn't sitting right there, he would have doubted his own eyes. I barely even glanced at him the entire time. I didn't even factor him into the fake crime scene, treated him like a piece of furniture. Songzae let out a quiet, dark laugh. A storm was brewing in his eyes. Outside, the old hags heard my loud noises. Smug satisfaction crept into their voices. They shoved Chuntao aside and burst right through the door. Madam, forgive this old servant. They fully expected to find us sitting awkwardly apart. They timed it perfectly. The marriage couldn't possibly be consummated yet, But the second they stormed in, Nanny Zhang nearly tripped over her own feet. I was sitting on the messy bed, hair completely wild, face flushed red. I shyly clutched my torn collar. Right on the footstool sat the crumpled virginity cloth, stained with a very obvious, bright red mark. Any idiot could see exactly what just happened in this room, but they panicked. Impossible, not this fast. Songzae was paralyzed, supposedly totally impotent. Nanny Zhang frantically looked around, desperately searching his figure for any flaw in our story. My expression instantly turned to pure ice. What did you just say, Nanny? Check my body? You have the cloth right there. What else is there to check? Madam, please let this servant inspect you properly. I must report back. What if the blood on that cloth belongs to an animal? Nanny Zhang sneered. Our private marital affairs, I snapped back. Report back to who, exactly? Does my mother-in-law want the details, or does the emperor? His Majesty manages the entire nation. I highly doubt he cares. So it must be my mother-in-law. Watching her grown son's diet is one thing, but obsessing over his sex life? Does she have some twisted fetish? Nanny Zhang saw me stalling and grew absolutely certain I wasn't a virgin. She thought I was just putting on a desperate show. The Marchioness simply worries about her eldest son's frail health, and fears his noble reputation might be stained. If Madam has nothing to hide, let this servant blocked on my wedding day, inspected on my wedding night. What would people think? You want proof? The vicious rumors outside are proof enough. Since my mother-in-law demands to see, and the palace sent someone too, then let's invite the royal envoys to be our witnesses. I'll send my maid to fetch my parents. I'll even drag my aunt and uncle out of bed. My husband and I will both be inspected in front of everyone. We will settle this clearly. If my body shows signs of ruin, and you hate me for it, I deserve death. But if we are completely unharmed, and you are just tormenting a newlywed bride for sport, I can only assume my mother-in-law despises me. I will gladly beg the palace for a royal divorce decree. My family can take me back home tonight, and we will sever this marriage clean. Saves us the drama when I eventually bear him a child. What do you think? Nanny Zhang stood there completely speechless. She thought I was just a sheltered, thin-skinned girl she could bully. She never expected me to play this brutally. She didn't dare make that call. The people I threatened to summon were high-ranking nobles. Gathering them all at midnight over a couple's bedroom activities? The resulting scandal wouldn't ruin me. It would completely humiliate the Marquis. But if she backed down now, how could she face the Marchioness? As she hesitated, Nanny Yun from the palace completely panicked. She was only doing a quick favor, sneaking out without an official royal token. If this actually alerted the emperor, it meant the inner palace was secretly conspiring with court officials. Consort Qi would be deeply implicated. Her petty friendship with the Marchioness wasn't worth destroying years of royal scheming. Madam jests. Nanny Yun forced a smile. You and the eldest son are a royal match. The whole palace rejoices for you. No one is dissatisfied. This old servant simply came to greet the new bride. Seeing Madam's breathtaking beauty and flawless manners, my heart is completely at ease. I shall return to the palace now. Without giving Nanny Zhang a chance to speak, she bowed hastily and sprinted away. Left alone, Nanny Zhang grabbed the stained cloth. Still bitterly unwilling to give up, she peered around the room. Where is the young master? I must verify his safety. I need to report back to the Marchioness. I smiled sharply. Forgive the mess, Nanny. We were right in the middle of things when you barged in. My husband is currently in a terrible mood. Get out! Nanny Zhang nearly jumped out of her skin. Terrified, she clutched the cloth and fled. Like it had wings, this drama quickly spread across the estate. I didn't know it then, but my performance reached old Madam's song that very night. While I slept, she had stayed awake against her pillows. When her servant delivered the news, her cloudy eyes lit up. She interrogated the maid, asking if we had truly consummated the marriage. The servant swore on her life, claiming she saw the red cloth and my glowing, flushed face. She reported that I looked like a woman deeply loved. She even praised how I brought up future heirs, easily crushing those two old hags with just 3 sentences. When the maid repeated my harsh, sarcastic threats, the old madam wasn't offended at all. She knew the Marchioness was lowborn, only seizing control because my husband was gravely injured and the Marquis refused to remarry. That tragedy was her only stepping stone. But sit on a stolen throne long enough, and you forget your muddy roots. My brutal words might have shocked the outside world, but the old madam knew they hit the Marchioness perfectly. That woman had run rampant for years. It was time I finally put a leash on her. She mocked her panicked reaction. The instant my husband secured me as his bride, the Marchioness lost her mind, terrified I'd steal her son's inheritance. Dragging the royal palace in? Classic peasant behavior. Pathetically short-sighted. The old madam believed that if this noble estate actually fell to that mother and son, we would all be ruined. The old woman saw through all her vicious shadows, but with my husband crippled and childless, her hands were tied. She was just too old to fight back openly anymore. She had only been able to protect him in secret, but I brought new hope. She prayed that if I gave him children, she could finally face his late mother. The servant warmly agreed, noting how perfectly my husband cooperated with me. They decided to throw all their support behind me, knowing our united front was their only real weapon. We had to plan for a child carefully. The Marquis estate had no heir yet. If Songjae and I had a baby, he would be the legitimate successor, but only he knew the truth. I knew that ever since Songjae lost his legs, the old madame never slept peacefully. She lived in constant fear, afraid to show him favor but unable to ignore him. Whenever he fell ill, she cried all night. She was too terrified to even step forward, afraid of drawing hatred. If he fell, Songzi would not survive here. She could only secretly back him up. But now, she finally had hope. I later learned she had immediately ordered her staff, bring all the rare tonics from my room and send them to Yujin. Watch their meals closely. We absolutely cannot afford a single mistake. I haven't visited the palace in a while. Send them my calling card. I would also find out the main courtyard was an entirely different scene. The Marchioness was staring in absolute disbelief at her maid. Are you absolutely sure? Is she really a virgin? Nanny Zhang had been too terrified to speak the truth. She whispered. I saw the young madame looking deeply flushed. She even had marks, red marks on her skin, left by the eldest master. It truly looked like they spent the night together. And Songze, he stayed inside the whole time. But I secretly noticed something. His clothes were completely disheveled as well. The Marchioness had rubbed her temples in fury. That marriage was meant for her son. It was a leftover scrap. How did a cripple get so lucky? It was an imperial marriage. Plus, Songze already held massive military achievements. If my family joined forces with him, could her precious son still secure the marquis title? Even if he did manage it, if Songze and I actually had a baby, the title would eventually return to our bloodline. By then, what would be left for her son? Absolutely nothing. She must have snapped at her spies. Has Songze been eating the food you delivered? Yes, madam. Our people are watching from the shadows. Every single time, his plate is wiped completely clean. Then, double the dose of medicine. They cannot be allowed to have a child. Madam, the Xie family has another daughter, the concubine-born one named Yu Yan. Without anyone even needing to scheme, Songje vanished from our bedroom by the second day. I was inventorying my dowry for my homecoming visit when Chuntao burst inside. Madam, how can you just sit there? The young master visited Aunt Feng yesterday, and Aunt Wang today. You can hear them laughing from miles away. You have only been married for 3 days. You haven't even visited home yet, and he is already running to his concubines. If word gets out, it will be a disaster. My head was spinning with all this panic. I raised a hand to cut her off. Let them talk. Rumors never killed anyone. Honestly, I felt conflicted. In my previous life, my husband had zero interest in romance. It took me years to learn his 8 concubines were just for show. When he eventually snapped and slaughtered his enemies, he quietly relocated those women to safety. A man that disciplined was clearly faking his playboy act. But your family visit is tomorrow, Chuntao whined. If he doesn't go with you, your sister will mock you endlessly. A cold sharpness flashed in my eyes. That reminds me. The old madame sent over a huge pile of herbs yesterday, right? Brew all of it. If my husband refuses to drink it, force it down the throats of those sweet little concubines. Tell them it is a gift from me. Chuntao always followed my crazy orders without question. Thrilled by the incoming drama, she instantly cheered up. I heard the old madam never leaves her room. But those gifts she sent are incredible. I saw pure palace quality items. She must really like you. With her backing us, once the young master heals, you two can have a baby. Then your life will be perfect. I froze. In my past life, his grandmother never cared for me, but she despised Yu Yan even more. She died early, and soon after, my husband vanished. We barely spoke back then, but now that I had married Songje instead, absolutely everything had changed. I was starting to piece the puzzle together, but I wasn't entirely sure yet. I handed Chuntao fresh pastries to deliver to the old madam. I casually added a warning, telling her to eat less bamboo shoots and more steamed buns and homegrown greens. The old madam was obsessed with bamboo shoots. They were rare palace tributes shipped from miles away. In my previous life, she literally suffocated to death from eating way too many of them. I played it off as a casual comment, but she was sharp. She immediately launched an investigation. The next morning, my husband was still nowhere to be found. I waited, then finally made a choice. I dropped the carriage curtain and ordered the driver to move. Some battles are better fought alone. My 3-day homecoming should have been a grand celebration, but rumors of bandits ruining me spread everywhere. Even though I survived and married into the marquis estate, my father considered me an embarrassment. He faked an illness to avoid me. Only my mother, Yu Yan, and Aunt Zhang waited at the gates. My mother already knew I had been abandoned on my wedding night. Seeing me step out of the carriage completely alone, tears poured from her swollen eyes. My poor baby, you suffered so much. Those simple words crushed my defenses. I had been so strong for days, but seeing her made me feel like a child again. In my previous life, my foolish choices got my older brother violently murdered. The heavy grief had completely destroyed my mother. Seeing her alive and breathing right in front of me made my chest ache. I squeezed her hands and swallowed my tears. Mother, I am fine. My husband treats me wonderfully. With him around, nobody in that estate dares to cross me. It wasn't a lie. Thanks to my new reputation of cursing my mother-in-law, the entire household was terrified. No one dared to raise their voice at me. But to my mother, her precious daughter was still tied to a cripple. She pulled me close, trying to save face in front of the servants. Just as we walked in, Yu Yan sighed with fake sympathy. Sister, you look miserable. You are a noble daughter. Even if bandits ruined you, you shouldn't have settled for marrying a broken cripple. She tried to look sad, but her eyes screamed with petty victory. It wasn't enough for her. She had spent years dreaming of the day I would be humiliated and rejected on my wedding day. Since I survived, she was desperate to tear me down today. Catching me alone, she refused to let it go. Before she could finish her sentence, I slapped her right across the face. She stood there completely paralyzed. "Did you just hit me?" she whispered in shock. "You opened your mouth to spit poison. A concubine-born rat spreading rumors about my purity? You absolutely deserved it." My freezing glare made Yu Yan violently shudder. The old me would never have spoken like that. I used to ignore the status gap between siblings, but I had been reborn. Staring at the girl who tortured me and butchered my uncle's entire family, my hatred twisted like dark vines in my chest. I wanted to rip her to shreds right there and then, but it wasn't the right time. Why let them die so easily? The brutal, bloody murders of my brother and my uncle flashed through my mind on a horrific, endless loop. Dying once was way too merciful. In this life, I would make sure they never got what they wanted. Every single thing they loved would turn to ash in their hand. I wanted them begging for death. It was the only way to repay the blood they spilled. I guided my mother inside, completely ignoring her. Aunt Zhang, my father's favorite pet, snapped. She was used to throwing her weight around. Seeing her daughter slapped by a ruined woman sent her into a rage. "Look at the high and mighty Marquis bride, coming home just to attack us. You act like you married the Marquis himself, but you tied your life to a useless, broken cripple," she sneered, her eyes flashing with a sickening, toxic venom as she glared at me. Was Yu Yan lying? If you weren't ruined by those dirty bandits on the mountain, why would the young Marquis throw you away? She laughed coldly, glowing with absolute wicked delight. She looked at Xie Yuyan with fake pity. "My poor girl, let mother check your face. You are about to marry a noble. You cannot have bruises." I watched them with dead eyes. The two of them shouted, veiled insults at me. I tapped the wooden armrest. In my past life, they hired bandits to ruin my reputation. Hijacking my carriage was just the start, all because she was pregnant. They felt entitled to destroy my entire life. Now that their grand scheme failed, they were panicking. But my revenge was just beginning. I narrowed my eyes. My voice was gentle, but cold. "One slap broke you? Good thing I brought a doctor to check your pulse today. Whatever you lack, I will replace it for the estate." I chewed on those words, letting the threat hang. Her heart completely dropped. She would never let a doctor near her. If anyone discovered she was pregnant, her reputation would burn. Furious as she was, she forced herself to bow her head. "I am perfectly fine. Sister is the eldest daughter. She has every right to discipline me." I smiled. "Really? Then why do I get the feeling your dear mother is still furious? She keeps running her mouth with absolute nonsense. Does she want her face slapped too? She is only a servant. When I speak, she listens." The bitter concubine opened her mouth to snap back. Terrified her mother would slip up, my sister cut in. "Sister, please. She just loves me," and spoke out of turn. "But tell us, what actually happened with the vicious bandits today? Why did you suddenly marry that cripple?" She stopped. The pure hatred in my eyes made her choke on the word. She changed her tune. "Marrying the eldest song boy makes us wonder. What is there to wonder? Your song might be a noble, but his mother was a replacement wife. He cannot compare to my husband. Sit down. I came home today. I even made bird's nest soup for everyone." My maid stepped forward with the wooden trays. I handed the bowls to my stepmother, my sister, and the concubine. "Eat up. I spent 2 hours on this. I also brought top-tier jewelry from my dowry just for you." She instantly forgot I slapped her. She grabbed the gold hairpins, completely obsessed. Her and her mother smiled so wide they looked ridiculous. Barely 15 minutes passed. My sister's face twisted up. She clutched her stomach and looked at her mother in total panic. "Mom, my stomach is killing me. What is happening?" She started pacing. The concubine stared at the empty porcelain bowl, then glared right at me. "You did this. You poisoned her soup to hurt my girl." I slowly took one last bite of my soup. "Poison? I just added a little saffron. It is excellent for a woman's health. Why would she feel sick? Let the doctor check her." Hearing the word saffron, their faces drained of color. Saffron was a great herb, but for a pregnant woman, it was a nightmare. A heavy dose could force a miscarriage, but looking at her standing there, I knew the dose I used was completely harmless. Still, she really needed to be resting in bed. She ground her teeth together and glared at me. "Such good herbs would never hurt me. I must have eaten something bad yesterday. Let me lie down. I just need to sleep. Do not worry about me." I stood up. "Are you avoiding me, or waiting to frame me later? Since I walked in, you have spread rumors that I was ruined. First my innocence, now my poisoned soup. Could it be that my dear sister really is sick? Not from bad food, but because her body cannot handle a tiny drop of saffron? I wonder why that would be." I let the sentence hang. Her face went completely ghost white. Her stomach was fine, she was just terrified. I knew her secret. The fear killed her pain. She was pregnant, after all. Kneeling on the hard floor was dangerous, but she had no choice. Gritting her teeth, she hit the ground. "I was just worried about you. The rumors messed with me. Please forgive me." Despite her words, she kept shooting desperate looks at her mother. The only man who could control me was my father. They had already poisoned his mind before I arrived. If he saw me punishing his favorite daughter, he would throw me right out. The concubine quickly slipped out to find him. It was their classic trick. My mother tried stopping her, but I shook my head. My father used to love me, so why did he ignore me in my past life and rushed to marry her off. Because he knew. He knew about the baby all along. My teeth dug into my lip. Decades had passed since my first life, but the betrayal burned. My father let them ruin me. He watched me walk into a trap and become a victim. A heavy hand crushed my chest. My heart throbbed with a bitter ache. Soon, my father rushed over. "What is going on here?" "Daddy, I am fine. Sister was right to punish me. I was just worried about her and spoke poorly." My father looked completely heartbroken. He stormed right past me and pulled her up from the cold floor. He shot me a look of pure disappointment. That cold stare killed the last bit of love I had for him. His blind favoritism was painfully obvious now. How did I never see this before? "You ruined our family name today. And you come home just to abuse your sister? Are you taking your anger out on us?" The disappointment was mutual. This was the man I respected. He was a joke. I had no tears left, only disgust. The old me would have screamed to prove my innocence, and eventually, he would have backed down, because my reputation was legally intact. I was still far more valuable than his illegitimate daughter. I laughed on the inside, then pinched my leg hard to force fake tears. "Daddy, on my wedding day, I only hid from the rain. I never saw any bandits, but the nobles threw dirt on my name anyway, shaming our family line. I expect strangers to be cruel. But how could my own father turn against me?" My father frowned at my crying, but when he looked back at his shivering younger daughter, his anger flared right back up. "If the nobles are confused, just explain it. There is no need to attack. Why force your sister to kneel? Who are you trying to impress?" I lowered my head. "You are right, father. I was completely out of line, but she did just say her stomach was hurting. Chuntao, go get Dr. Wu, have him check her pulse." My maid was incredibly fast. Before anyone could protest, she bolted. She ran straight out the doors. The girl panicked. "No, wait. I am fine." I grabbed her hand. "We are sisters. Do not be stubborn. Let the doctor do his job. We just want peace of mind. If you catch a lasting illness, that would be a nightmare." I looked at my father. He had no idea she was carrying a child. It made perfect sense. I felt a wave of relief. So my father hated me simply because he thought my honor was ruined? But denying me a chance to explain was brutal. The doctor walked right into the room. "Dr. Wu, check her pulse. We cannot let my parents worry." She tried to run, but my grip was like iron. She could not pull away. I shoved her down into the chair. The doctor felt her wrist. A look of total shock crossed his face. "Doctor, is something terribly wrong with her?" He swallowed hard. "Madam, the young miss has no disease. The pulse shows she is actually pregnant." My parents completely froze. The absolute shock on their faces was incredibly real. "What?" My sister looked like a ghost. The concubine pointed a shaking finger at the doctor. "You fake doctor. She is an innocent, unmarried girl. How could she be pregnant?" I smiled coldly. "She shouldn't be. Let's use father's token to call a royal physician." "No, we cannot do that. If we make a scene, the entire capital will hear the rumors." The concubine and my sister were spinning in circles. Finally, my father broke his silence. "Everyone, get out." As the nervous servants rushed out the door, he locked his cold eyes on her. "What exactly is going on here? Tell me." Before she could speak, I stepped in. "Daddy, an unmarried girl carrying a child is a total disgrace. She must face strict family punishment." He slammed his fist. "Nonsense. She is carrying a baby and you want to execute the family punishment on her? Are you trying to kill her?" My father's harsh scolding smashed down on me, stripping away every ounce of my dignity. To say it did not hurt would be an absolute lie, but I knew he always favored my sister. Just because of some wild rumors, my father wanted me to end my life to save our family reputation. Yet now, my sister is secretly pregnant with another man's child, and he refuses to even punish her. What a truly wonderful father. I took a deep breath, feeling my lungs being pierced by countless sharp needles, burning with agonizing pain. Still, I forced myself to slowly exhale the bitter air. "So, father really thinks this is no big deal? She secretly carries an illegitimate child, and it means absolutely nothing. Yet when nasty rumors spread about me, you never defended me. You just called me a disgrace." How utterly fascinating. With one sentence, I ripped away my father's hypocritical mask. His patriarchal authority completely offended. He snapped. "You being a disgrace is bad enough, but you want to drag the whole family down too? Xie Yujin, I think you are the one who deserves the severe family punishment." So the Xie household really cannot tell right from wrong. A slightly mocking voice echoed, accompanied by the heavy rolling of wheelchair wheels against the floor. Standing against the blinding glare, I could not read Song Zi's expression at first, but a bright halo outlined his figure. A golden glow made his sudden arrival incredibly striking. "Wait, I thought he was not coming?" My eyes widened in pure shock as I watched him break through the shadows and stop right in front of me. Song Jae seemed to read my exact thoughts, letting out a soft chuckle. If I did not show up, how would I know the noble wife of my military estate is treated worse than a mere concubine's daughter here? Before his words fully landed, he had already casually rolled right up to my side. I was delayed by some trivial estate matters. Apologies for making my lovely wife wait so long. I knew Song Zi had no real intention of coming today. But trapped inside those gloomy walls for so long, he was probably just curious, wanting to see what kind of revenge scheme his new bride was secretly planning today. As he tilted his head up, his dark eyes held a fleeting apology meant just for me. But in a split second, his freezing gaze locked onto the rest of the room. My esteemed father-in-law certainly throws his weight around. My wife and I are one entity now. If you wish to enforce your strict family rules, you might as well punish me too. Before Song Jae lost his legs, he was a legendary battlefield commander with unmatched military glory. He had even saved the emperor's life during a crisis. He became a top-ranking official at just 20 years old. Even though he is disabled now, stripped of his noble inheritance, and barred from court, my arrogant family still cannot lay a single finger on him. Though I never actually planned to hide behind my powerful new husband, his harsh words sounded like absolute music to my ears right now. If someone else is willing to fight my battles, why exhaust myself? I let out a quiet breath, lowered my gaze, playing the obedient wife, and gently rested my hand on his broad shoulder, smoothly steering the conversation back. Please do not let them upset you, my dearest husband. My father is simply blinded by his deep concern. It is truly my younger sister who crossed the line, committing such a scandalous and disgraceful act before her wedding day. If this massive scandal leaks out, I fear our entire family will be burned to ashes. My father's face turned completely blue with pure venom. Yet, terrified of my husband's silent authority, he swallowed his explosive rage. He could only force out through gritted teeth, You. Returning home after your wedding, yet you bring a royal physician just to humiliate us? Is talking pure nonsense in front of an outsider not enough? His burning glare said it all. He absolutely wanted to murder me right then and there. Where did all his past paternal love go? Our bond as father and daughter shattered the second it stood against my sister's interests. In my previous life, right up until my dying breath, I never understood how his heart turned so cold. I even questioned my own bloodline. I wondered if my childhood in this grand house was nothing but a fragile illusion. But I knew the truth. My mother would never betray him. I am a true daughter of this family. A normal father would spread his protective wings, risking absolutely everything, to defend his own flesh and blood. It was just that the child he chose to protect was never me. In my past life, when my husband ruthlessly executed my deceitful sister, my father, with broken limbs and soaked in deep red, dragged his shattered body across the floor just, begging him to spare her miserable life. His blatant favoritism was a brutal sword, stabbing straight through my chest across 2 lifetimes. I took a slow, trembling breath. Last life, I swallowed my immense pride and married his brother as a lowly concubine. Soon after, my toxic family used the military estate's vast power to climb the political ladder. My older brother was tragically killed. My mother died of a completely shattered heart. And before 100 days even passed, my wonderful father elevated that scheming concubine to primary wife. But why? Why should this wretched household celebrate and bask in wealth, while my innocent mother and brother rotted in the cold ground, dying full of endless regret? I smiled sharply. My husband's mobility is restricted. The matriarchs of his estate explicitly ordered me to bring our most trusted family doctor along to monitor his health. Dr. Wu is a seasoned veteran who retired from the imperial palace. I personally went out of my way to hire him early this morning. Yet in your paranoid eyes, father, this is some calculated revenge plot? I scoffed coldly, shifting my dark gaze toward my trembling sister. You claim I ruined our reputation, but you never mentioned that a guilty conscience fears a knock at the door in the dead of night. My sister glared at the two of us with absolute hatred, her twisted heart boiling with toxic rage. Why on earth did the powerful lord marry me, and even escort me back home? In her eyes, I should have been completely defiled by those vicious mountain bandits. I was supposed to spend my life crushed under her heel, living as a pathetic, miserable concubine who could never, ever show her face again. If my sweet sister had known I could somehow escape her trap, she would have ordered those thugs to slaughter me right there in the dirt. Anything was better than suffering this humiliating defeat today. Deep inside my sister's eyes, a monstrous jealousy boiled over. My oldest sister is certainly arrogant now that she is married. Flaunting your powerful new backing, you march right back into your maiden home just to stir up pure chaos. Are you not terrified of breaking our father's heart? As soon as those vicious words left her mouth, my actual mother, who always ached for my suffering, finally snapped. Her gentle face hardened as she delivered a freezing reprimand. Insolent brat, as a mere concubine's daughter, you dare insult the legitimate heir? You commit such an utterly disgusting, scandalous crime, and still have the nerve to blame your older sister? My mother was usually so gentle and passive, perfectly maintaining the dignified grace of a primary lady. Having given up on love long ago, she never bothered fighting those pathetic concubines for my father's attention. But her long silence had only emboldened that arrogant Aunt Zhang, and it allowed my evil sister, backed entirely by my father's blind favoritism, to run absolutely wild. My mother's sudden, explosive fury sent a shockwave through the entire room. My father's face twisted into an ugly scowl, making a dramatic scene in front of outsiders. What exactly are you trying to prove? Has today not been humiliating enough? Before he could even finish barking his cruel reprimand at my mother, he instantly pivoted to my powerful husband. My deepest apologies, worthy son-in-law. Please forgive this absolute circus. I have failed utterly in raising my daughters, dragging your noble name into our mess. It is truly a burden that you agreed to marry my deeply disappointing child. However, my youngest daughter will also be marrying into your prestigious estate very soon. With our 2 daughters and you 2 brothers united in harmony, we will undoubtedly bring incredible glory to your military family. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Listening to your beautiful speech, father, it sounds like you knew about her dirty little affair all along. Who exactly is the father? Could it possibly be? I let my voice trail off as I slowly turned to look at the man sitting right beside me. Songzae casually leaned back into his wheelchair, resting his sharp jaw on his hand. Why are you staring at me, darling? I have always kept my hands completely clean. My eye gave a violent twitch. Oh yes, he was absolutely pristine. The same man who hoarded 8 beautiful mistresses right before our grand wedding, and spent the days after our ceremony sleeping off hangovers in their crowded beds, ensuring the entire military household viewed my marriage as an absolute joke. If I had not already survived his twisted temper in my past life, I never would have endured his wild antics in silence. Plus, this marriage was commanded by the emperor. This entire, rushed, wedding ceremony was thrown together in a panic. Barely a single month has passed since the engagement, and Song Jun, that brainless, uneducated coward of a brother, even though he had been secretly sleeping with my sister for months, he would never dare defy a direct imperial order. He could not just announce he was marrying someone else, so they cooked up this sickening, elaborate trap. Their original plan was to ruin me, use the scandal as an excuse to swap the brides, and protect their precious reputation while pretending they were doing me a massive favor by making me a concubine. But since I ended up marrying the older brother instead, their pathetic little scheme was shattered from day one. If that coward still wants to marry my sister, they will need a new strategy. I absolutely refuse to let those parasites win. Every ounce of brutal torture I suffered in my past life, I am going to make them repay with heavy interest. Acting as if a horrifying thought just struck me, I loudly gasped. Father, have you lost your mind? I abruptly swallowed the rest of my sentence, twisting my body away as if consumed by unbearable shame and absolute outrage. I violently flicked my long silk sleeves. Song Shun is destined to inherit the marquis title. He values a woman's pure innocence above all else. For that alone, he would risk defying the emperor. How could he possibly marry a... I cleverly choked back the rest of my words. I said just enough to plant the poisonous seed, but my husband's freezing voice cut through the silence next. Does your family think our military estate is completely powerless? An unmarried woman, walking around with a bastard child is fit to cross our noble threshold? If this disgusting secret gets out, where exactly does Lord Ji expect us to hide our humiliated faces? Lord Ji, if a filthy, shameless creature like her begged to enter our gates as the lowest concubine, I would still have to seriously reconsider on behalf of my foolish brother. Yet you somehow have the sheer audacity to dare make decisions for my own father? It is an ancient truth that the eldest brother is the father. After the old marquis died in battle, my powerful husband ruled the entire estate. If not for the tragic accident that ruined his legs, the title would never have fallen to anyone else. Songzae just leaned back in his wheelchair. His expression never changed, but he sent a terrifying chill down my spine. The main hall of my father's house went dead silent. My father looked like a sharp blade was hanging right over his neck. If he said even one wrong word, that blade would instantly slice his throat open. I honestly never expected Songzae to attack so suddenly. Knowing his personality, I figured he would just throw a few sarcastic insults and enjoy the family drama. I shrank back, opening my mouth to speak, but Songzae just shifted his sly fox-like eyes and glanced up. Today is a wonderful day for my bride to return home, he said smoothly. Father-in-law, it would be best not to ruin my wife's good mood over something entirely worthless. Over on the side, my half-sister Xie Yuyan stood there with tears streaming down her miserable face. Yet her fingers were gripping Zhang Yinyang's sleeve as if seeing this awful mess, my father desperately tried to smooth things over. The kitchen has prepared the meal. Yujin, why don't you show your husband around? The estate? Songzae smiled. I actually would love to see where my wife grew up freely. Would you do the honors, my dear? The man had practically handed me an escape route on a silver platter. Deciding obedience was better than politeness, I grabbed the handles of his chair. I wheeled him right out of that suffocating main hall. Once I was absolutely sure no one was following us, I whispered, "Thank you, husband, for saving me in there." He did not even blink. "I did not do it for you. Your father's words and actions today basically trampled all over the Marquis estate's dignity. I might not manage the household affairs, but I still care about my pride. If my noble family loses face, I look terribly bad too. As for your father's scheming little mistress, even if he had not shown up today to meddle, I probably would not have let this whole CA household off the hook anyway." How amusing. My hands froze on the wheelchair grips, and I gave him a dry, flat look. I really should not have expected a single nice word out of this man's mouth. If I had known, I would have just left him in that hall to have a staring contest with my father's entire miserable family. Reluctantly, I kept pushing Songzae aimlessly around the Shea estate. Neither of us said a single word. The silence between us was painfully awkward. Meanwhile, back in the main hall, everything had already boiled over into absolute chaos. That one single sentence from Songzae had basically sealed Jie Yuyan's entire fate. "Father, you simply have to stand up for your daughter," she wailed bitterly. "Everything I did wrong today, it was all for the sake of our Xie family. If I really have to marry as a lowly concubine, I would rather smash my head and die right here. The noise made my father's head throb with pain. Yuyan, your father knows you feel wronged. But right now, you are already pregnant. No matter what happens, you must marry into the Marquis estate. Once you are finally inside their doors, won't you be the one controlling Songshun anyway? Father, why don't you just clearly admit that? My mother is the woman you love the most. But you have seen what kind of miserable life she has lived in this house all these years. Are you seriously going to force your own daughter down that exact same tragic path? Father and daughter remain locked in this bitter standoff. Ji Yuyan was secretly fuming. Song Zhe was just a useless cripple. Why on earth was her father so terrified of him? She refused to believe it. Since when did Song Zhe call the shots in the Marquis of Loyal Valor's estate? And right at that exact moment, I pushed Song Zhe under the cool shade of a large tree. My maid Chuntao came running over from a distance. Seeing the two of us, she awkwardly stepped up to me and whispered, "Miss, the madam is asking for you." I hurriedly said my polite goodbyes to Song Zhe. I turned and walked away so fast, I practically flew, as if spending one more second with him was unbearable. Once we rounded the corner, Chuntao could not hold back her burning question anymore. "Miss, why did the eldest young master show up so suddenly? Is he just here to laugh at our family drama?" I sighed. He is my rightful, legally wedded husband. How does him attending our home visit count as laughing at us? Anyway, what about you? How did that little task I gave you turn out? Do not worry at all, she beamed. The awful things the second miss did are already spreading through the estate. Soon enough, everyone will know. Let's see how she ever shows her face to bully you again. Chuntao looked completely triumphant, but I was not feeling so optimistic. Sure, we had managed to humiliate Zhang Yinyang and Xie Yuyan today, but the scandal had not left the Xie estate. Behind closed doors, they were still family. I absolutely needed to give my mother a serious warning first. I very quickly arrived at my mother's private courtyard. Before I even stepped through the door, I heard my mother's soft, heartbreaking sobs echoing from inside. In his younger years, Song Jae was a ruthless demon who killed without blinking. You all saw the terrifying scene today. And so, my daughter has such a gentle nature. If she really marries him like this, she will never have a single good day again. No, I must write a letter to her older brother. I will have him march to the Marquis estate and cancel this marriage immediately. My mother's voice barely fell when I hurriedly pushed the heavy door open and rushed inside. Mother, it is not nearly as bad as you think. He only attacked father today to protect me. We cannot just burn our bridges after crossing the river. I shot a quick look at the servants. Once the room was totally empty, I rushed forward to comfort her. Mother, my life is perfectly fine. We absolutely cannot back out of this marriage. Without Song Jae by my side, what do I have? To fight back against Song Shun and his scheming mother? Just relying on our CA family's modest reputation and my brother's military achievements? I fear we would never catch up in a lifetime. Besides, I refuse to drag my family down because of my own problems. I hugged my mother tightly, nestling deep into her warm embrace. Just like when I was a little girl, I looked up at my mother, racking my brain for the right words to finally convince her. Yujin, she sighed. Even if he acted to protect you today, wasn't he really just doing it to save his own personal reputation and pride? Furthermore, both of his legs are completely crippled now. He can no longer wield a sword. How can he possibly stand up for you in that ruthless Marquis estate? This directly concerns your lifelong happiness and future. We cannot be careless about this. I truly think we should just cancel this marriage right now. I fell silent for a moment, staring at my mother's deeply furrowed brows and eyes full of pure worry. The harsh words of absolute refusal just would not come out of my mouth. I let out a soft sigh and slowly sat up straight. Just as I was about to speak, my ears caught a faint sound. I suddenly heard the distinct creak of wooden wheels rolling outside the door. I instantly changed my tone. Mother, marrying Song Zae is already the absolute best marriage I could possibly secure for myself right now. Furthermore, my older brother is stationed far away at the harsh border. It is a war zone out there, rivers flowing with blood. Every single day, people are dying in battle. The Emperor issued this marriage decree right at this moment, pushing past all objections to marry me into the Loyal Valor Marquis estate. Wasn't it entirely so my brother could build strong authority among the border troops? I cannot make my own choices about my marriage, and I do not expect my future husband to do much for me. But only if my brother gets the powerful backing of the Marquis estate will he have no worries left behind. Mother, don't you want him to return to the capital sooner? The massive, powerful army Song Jae led in his youth was scattered everywhere after his tragic leg injury. His loyal military connections now span across all 4 border armies, with the northern garrison having the largest numbers. But unfortunately, within the Marquis state, Song Zun is an utterly useless piece of trash who achieves nothing. Forget leading troops into brutal battle. He loses his soul in sheer terror if a horse simply runs a bit too fast. Meanwhile, the main generals of our household are busy defending the southwest, stretched completely thin. That is exactly why my older brother was appointed in a desperate crisis, rushing to the northern border just as early spring arrived. If we want to guarantee the capital's safety, taking control of the northern garrison is the only possible choice. Otherwise, the Emperor would never have chosen this critical moment. to suddenly push forward a marriage that had been delayed for 3 long years. All this time, the emperor used Song Jae's severe injuries as an excuse to put our family's union on hold. Recently, there were even wild rumors swirling around the capital that the Xie and Song marriage was completely doomed. Sadly, in my miserable past life, I was totally blind to this incredibly obvious political reality. I spent all my days obsessing over trivial, petty backyard family drama and meaningless romances, letting those terrible people trample all over my dignity. Now, just thinking back on it makes me want to cough up a mouthful of blood out of pure anger. Mother, my marriage is already completely settled now. Even though Song Jae hurt his legs, the old royal physicians never firmly declared that he would be entirely unable to stand up for the rest of his life, did they? As long as we carefully treat him with medicine and give him plenty of attentive care, there will finally be a day when the dark clouds part to reveal the bright moon. You always have your reasons, don't you? My mother raised her hand and gently pinched my nose, suddenly thinking of her own son stationed far away at the brutal border. The words on her lips melted into a long, heavy sigh. You have suffered such a massive injustice for your brother's sake this time. When he returns to the capital, I will absolutely make him pack up a generous gift to properly thank you, his precious sister. It will also show those snobs in the Marquis estate that you have a strong maiden family to support you. As for your father, the two of us can no longer rely on him at all. His mind was poisoned by that scheming mother and daughter a very long time ago. If Shi Yuyan had not been exposed today, I bet he would not even be willing to come see you. Bringing this up filled my mother's stomach with bitter resentment. Thinking back on everything she had endured all these years, her heart grew completely cold. If that man, Song Jae, turns out to be exactly like your father, a complete bastard who only spoils his concubines and destroys his wife, then you divorce him immediately. Even if you never remarry, your uncle and I can easily support you. Mother, we are nowhere near the point of a divorce. Song Zi is actually a good person. Terrified that my mother would make things difficult for him at the dinner table and ruin my master plan, I simply decided to explain exactly what happened on the day of my grand wedding. I told my mother absolutely every single detail. She had already heard plenty of nasty gossip outside these past few days, but hearing the truth directly from her own daughter's mouth made her explode with pure, fiery rage. The loyal Valor Marquis estate has pushed us entirely too far. That Song Jae sacrificed his body and military glory to protect their family's reputation. But Chen Yaohua, a lowly concubine who only clawed her way up to be a replacement wife, dares to bully a noble legitimate daughter like you? Do they honestly think our general's estate is that easy to push around? Mom, please calm down. I talked my heart out and finally pacified everyone. If Song Jae had not relented, I really would have had to pack up and head back home. You saw the chaos today, Mother. Father would probably hand me a white rope himself, wishing I would just hang myself to save face. I owe him for this, so you really cannot blame him for any of it. My mother fell silent. Meanwhile, outside the door, Song Jae leaned in the shade, completely amused by our muffled voices. Shi Yujin was quite the actress. If he had not seen me being so ruthless the other day, he might have actually bought my innocent act. Hearing me shower him with praise, Song Jae quietly rolled his wheelchair out of the yard. Hearing him fade away, my stiff shoulders finally dropped. Mom, forget about me for now. We need to focus on Xie Yuyan. By tomorrow, rumors of her secret pregnancy and back alley abortion will spread like wildfire. When that happens, the Xie family's reputation will shatter. Your life in that estate will become a total nightmare. I was actually racking my brain, trying to find an excuse to send you to the Ye family. But why worry? Father does not even care about the family name. He only cares about crawling his way up the political ladder. Shouldn't a good wife just blindly follow her husband? My mother's voice was dripping with bitter sarcasm. Jing, you are all grown up now. I know you have your own battles to fight. Do not worry about me, just do what you must. Even if this family's legacy burns to the ground, the general's manor will keep you safe. My eyes burned, and a tight knot formed in my throat. Do not worry, Mom. No matter what happens, I will always protect you, Uncle, and my oldest brother. I won't just keep my loved ones safe. I will make the people who ruined our past lives beg for mercy. Blood debts must be paid in blood. We poured our hearts out until the sun dipped below the horizon. When we finally hit the front hall, Song Jae was casually chatting with my father about politics. The moment I walked in, his amused gaze locked right onto me. He flashed a teasing smile. I actually thought my mother-in-law would refuse to let you leave today. I was getting pretty worried. I faked a heavy blush and quickly dropped my head. Oh, husband, I whined. You are teasing me again. Do it again, and I might just lose my temper. I kept my head down, letting a sweet smile play on my lips. Two can play this sickeningly sweet game. Song Jae held my gaze. Jie Yuyan watched our little romantic performance, and I could see the absolute hatred boiling in her eyes. Going back, we took separate carriages. They pulled up to the Marquis' estate one after the other. But before I even stepped out, a massive crowd poured out from the side doors, completely swarming my ride. Chun Tao got shoved hard in the chaos. What are you doing? She yelled. How dare you block my lady's carriage? Move out of the way right now. The estate guards just stood there, dead silent. I stood up, casting a freezing glare over the guards, landing right on Chen Yaohua by the gates. I let out a dry, mocking laugh. Mother-in-law, what is this about? This is all your own doing. Lady Chen crossed her arms, wrapped in expensive silk, and shot me a look of pure disgust. You have ruined the reputation of this family. How dare you question me out here? Mother-in-law, you are making some wild accusations right now. All you ever talk about is how I shame the family name. We have an audience today, so please, tell everyone exactly what I did. I glared right back at her, barely able to hide the murderous hatred boiling in my veins. In my past life, her constant enabling and total disregard for human life got me trapped and tortured to death in that courtyard. This noble lady knew her son was sleeping around, but she was too terrified to defy the emperor. So she just enabled Song Shun, delaying the wedding over and over. She spun a massive web of lies, making it look like he was completely devoted to me. She constantly manipulated me, playing with my emotions, just watching me fall deeper into the trap, only to lock me out on my wedding day. I lost everything. I almost forgot she was the true mastermind behind my misery. Mother-in-law, if you cannot produce hard evidence right now, my husband and I simply will not come inside. Even now, I wasn't going to let Song Jae off the hook. My husband's legs are still healing, and he is already exhausted from traveling all day long. I would love to know exactly how we managed to upset you. The third-day visit is a time-honored tradition, yet here we are, completely locked out of our own home. Our town usually lacked any good entertainment. As evening approached, the main street was packed with people. Vendors were shouting over each other to sell their goods. Crowds were strolling by, gathering in little groups. And my loud, dramatic questioning instantly grabbed everyone's attention. All eyes were glued to the estate gates. The story of my run-in with bandits on my wedding day had already spread through the whole city. Now that I was here in person, the whispers never stopped. Didn't that Xie girl get captured by bandits? How is she still marrying the general? Hey, keep your voice down. Something really crazy is going on over there. It looks like the lady of the house is torturing her. If the girl was truly ruined, why would General Song ever marry her? The deafening gossip echoed through the busy streets. Lady Chen cared about her public image more than anything, desperate to protect her crumbling reputation. Hearing the loud whispers, pure rage rushed to her head. Xie Yujin, I pitied your terrible ordeal. I didn't want to humiliate you in public, but you are just completely ungrateful. Before my mother-in-law could finish, Nanny Zhang jumped right in. After you left today, some men showed up at our gates. A small group of men started kicking and smashing our doors. They demanded we hand over the wife they had already bedded. You have dragged our family name through the mud. I playfully raised an eyebrow, faking absolute confusion. Oh? Has my dear mother-in-law figured out who those men actually were? I asked the question with a totally calm, breezy tone. I didn't look anxious at all. Meanwhile, in the old madam's courtyard, a servant was reporting the standoff happening right at our front gates. The old madam casually leaned back against her cushion, slowly pressing incense ash in the burner. Nanny Fang stood nearby. Hearing the messy details, the nanny scoffed. What a total disgrace. It's so petty. They don't even understand that family scandals should be kept behind closed doors. Locking her out is ridiculous. The old madam slowly set down her tools. Her cloudy eyes drifted toward the direction of the front gates. Whatever. Let's see how the Xie girl handles this. If she is completely useless, we won't waste any more time on her. Jie has suffered enough over the years. As long as she can keep him comfortable and give him a few children, that is good enough for us. Back out at the side gates, I gave her a painfully fake smile. Mother-in-law, did you listen to some random gossip? Sending a servant to ruin my wedding night was bad enough. But now, just relying on rumors from random thugs to tear us apart? Song Shun lost his temper instantly. He absolutely refused to let anyone disrespect his mother. You are still denying it? Those men are the very same mountain bandits who attacked you. We actually have them locked up inside right now. If you don't believe me, you can confront them yourself. Little Marquis Song, were you kicked in the head by a donkey? My husband bled on the battlefield hunting down those exact bandits. He suffered countless horrific injuries. And you, his own brother, are literally rolling out the red carpet for them? You brought vile criminals straight into our home. Aren't you terrified your ancestors will spin so fast they'll bust right through their coffins? What an ungrateful son. You are the one destroying this family's reputation. You completely disappointing fool. I threw his mother's exact insults right back in his face. Song Soon practically exploded with rage. How dare you? I scoffed loudly. How dare I? My husband sacrificed his entire life and body to protect people, and you treat his enemies like royalty? Husband, you traded your blood for glory, but you ended up raising a pack of absolute wolves. It seems like we need to sit down and settle some accounts. Stop wasting your hard-earned silver on these completely heartless monsters. We should save that money and hire a top-tier doctor to finally heal your legs. Before I even finished, everyone's faces fell. Chen Yaohua almost jumped out of her skin. Since Song Zi crippled his leg and retired, this entire marquis household has survived strictly on his old military pensions. This noble estate boasted a century of history, but her reckless spending and terrible management bled them dry. They had been broke for years. Honestly, without my husband's wealth, this massive family would absolutely starve. She shrieked. So that is why you insisted on marrying the eldest son, Xie Yujin. You just wanted his silver, you venomous snake. You ruined our family bond the second you arrived. Chen Yahua snapped. I just sneered. My husband is no marquis, since he is married now. His personal estates naturally fall to me. There is absolutely zero reason for you to keep managing them. I glared at her. In my past life, she used his frail health to steal his fields and businesses early on. Even the annual ledgers she showed him were totally faked. During that very first year, the madam actually showed some restraint. She only dared to siphon small amounts to secure her younger son's inheritance. But once she realized my husband never checked the books, she quietly transferred everything into Song Sun's name. So much so that later, Song Shun's lavish wedding and every ongoing expense were stolen straight from my husband. In my past life, when he was finally exiled from this manor, he was completely penniless. I have seen plenty of ungrateful traitors in my time, but draining a man's wealth with such righteous pride? That was an absolute first for me. Worse still, this woman even tampered with his 8 concubines. She constantly paraded expensive medical herbs into their rooms, making sure the whole city knew my husband was crippled. Honestly, just remembering her disgusting stunts from my past life makes me sick to my stomach. I casually rested my hand on Song Zhe's shoulder. He tensed, frowning deeply. His voice was absolute ice. By royal law, harboring fugitives carries the exact same sentence. Hiding bandits earns 30 lashes and 1,000-mile exile. Mother, are you tired of our family legacy? Does the old madam know what you are doing? In other words, does she know you have a death wish? Chen Yohua was stunned. You brought this disaster here. Do not try pinning this treason charge on me and my daughter. Did I actually cause this mess? Let us ask the prisoner. She was waiting for that. As she turned to summon them, I cut her off. A Z daughter will never endure baseless insults, let alone twice. Chun Tao, run to the high court right now. Bring a royal magistrate back here to witness this. If I am totally innocent, I refuse to let anyone twist the truth and spread nasty rumors later. That would destroy our estate's reputation and completely insult the emperor's direct marriage decree. Chun Tao immediately spun around to leave. Chen Yohu went completely pale, cursing under her breath. What a scheming little brat. This is purely a private family matter, yet she is dragging the Supreme Court into it. If things escalate, it means defying the emperor. The old madam would kill me. What are you all staring at? Grab that blind, wretched maid. Stop her right now. If she resists, beat her to death. My eyes went completely dark with rage. Let us see who dares. The second those words left my mouth, steel hissed. I spun around and backhanded, ripped a long blade from the closest guard's belt, pressing it against his throat. If you are telling the truth, mother, inviting a magistrate will only prove my innocence. What are you so afraid of? Unless this entire scandal is a lie to frame me, and you are terrified of getting caught? I purposely let my grip slip. The heavy blade instantly sliced his skin, drawing fresh blood. What absolute nonsense are you spouting? Growing up, my nannies always told me how wonderfully you treated my husband. But witnessing this circus today, that is clearly a lie. It feels like you are absolutely dying to destroy my reputation until I can never show my face in this city again. Chen Yahua was shaking with rage. For years, she played the doting mother to maintain a virtuous image. But now, my few casual, little words completely exposed her toxic, suffocating control over my husband. Pure malice flashed in her eyes. She totally forgot about the courts. Xie Yujin, you have not even cleared up your own filthy mess yet. Did you not swear you were pure when you married him? Fine, I will bring those thugs to confront you right now. As she spoke, her loyal nanny darted into the courtyard. In less than 10 minutes, they dragged a few men with bound wrists right into the center of the yard. I scoffed. These ropes are a total joke. These bandits are ruthless killers, their hands dripping with actual blood. Are you not terrified these sloppy ropes will let them break loose and attack someone in this estate?